Hello and welcome to another video from Minus Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that is now quite old. And these figures have now become very collectible and highly sought after. We are looking at the 1995 release by Hasbro from their Action Man series, or the new wave Action Man series of action figures. Now, Action Man, it really is a British icon action figure. It was relaunched in the UK by Palitoy back in 1965 and was sold in many different guises from 1965 right up until Palitoy folded in 1984. They produced many different variants of Action Man. There was a gripping hand style, the eagle-eyed style, the dynamic body, the talking style, and also they came with many different outfits and accessories and vehicles and so on. And it was a very good seller for Palitoy, really up until the time when the Star Wars figures were released, and the action figures then became much smaller, and Common Ground appeared to be the 4-inch figures that was produced by Kenner. And I think that's ultimately what put pay to the Palitoy Action Man. However, after Action Man had finished, Palitoy resumed the role, Hasbro, I should say, resumed the role of manufacturing Action Man for the UK market. They started in their new wave of Action Man, I should say, came in 1995 and ran through until 2006. And there was no military versions of the Action Man really then. It was more of an adventure series of Action Man, and the Action Man had his arch enemies, which was Dr. X and Professor Gangrene, and he was pitted against those in most of his Action Man adventures. And most of the figures came with mission cards as well, so they had missions to do. I think all the Action Man, all this Hasbro style Action Man was all based on the James Bond, really. So it was kind of like a Bond theme action adventure for the new wave of Action Men. Whereas the original Palitoy ones were all military themed, and it was all based on the original Hasbro G.I. Joe figures from the 1960s. Anyway, let's not digress too much. This particular figure we're looking at today is of the Aqua Scuba Extreme Diver, and this is the card it comes on. And at the very top, it's got the Action Man logo, and it says Action Man. And you can see an image there of a great white shark. And then just behind the bubble, you have got the Action Man figure. And at the bottom, you've got an image of the Action Man and an arrow pointing to his back. Because if you press the button on his back, you get bubbles come out of the tank. So it simulates real bubbles as being breathed underwater. On the right hand side, again, it's got Aqua and Scuba Extreme. And the back card shows underwater fish and rubbish that's has been found underwater. Anyway, that's the front of the card. Let's turn the card around now and have a look at what we got on the back. Okay, so I'll turn the card around. This is what we got on the back. So again, at the top, you've got the Action Man logo, and it says Action Man, and you've got the Hasbro Action Man web address, which is www.actionman.com. And there you can see an image of an artwork image of Action Man diving underwater, and it says Aqua Scuba Extreme. And you can see he's swimming underwater holding his underwater knife. And it says press button for real divers bubbles. So you can see up here there's a button on his back. If you press that, it pumps out air and simulates bubbles coming out of the tank or out of his breathing mask, just like you would get if you was actually underwater and swimming underwater with those tanks on. It says look out for more Action Man adventures, and just below there you can see other items in the same series. So you got Dr. X there, You've got the hovercraft, and again a few more adventurers. That's one of the adventures in the BMX bike adventurer, and of course this one, which is a scuba diver. It's a special feature body, articulation, fully articulated body, and it says genuine Action Man product at the right hand side there. And then at the very bottom, it's got 1998 Hasbro International Limited, all rights reserved, and distributed in the United Kingdom by Hasbro UK. And you've got all the copyright information and licensing information at the very bottom there. Now, back in the day, you used to get a point with each item that you would buy with Action Man. Same thing that Palitoy Big did in the early days. Hasbro did the same, and with this particular figure, you got 2 Action Man points, which you would put onto your point card, and you could send away and get a free gift from Hasbro when you've collected enough of the tokens. All the other logos at the bottom there, the Gig logo, the CE logo, Hasbro logo, and you've got the the barcode at the bottom there, and the item number, which is 76503-186. Okay, so that is the back of the card. So let's turn the card around. Now, unfortunately, I can't take the figure out of the packet because it's still vacuum sealed, but we can have a good look at the figure through the packet and see what we can see. So let's turn it around and have a good look now. Okay, so I've turned the card around. I have turned the card upside down, actually, so that we can have a better look at the figure itself. And I hope you can see the figure very well, but you can just about see him, and he's there behind the bubble, and he's got his oxygen mask on there. You can see his face just behind that mask. Now, he is obviously all plastic. Unlike the Palitoy versions, they don't have flocked hair or eagle eyes or anything like that. It's just literally a plain Action Man face, but quite a lot of the clothes that they wear and are actually bonded to the figure, rather than clothes that you can put him in and remove and take off and so on. This particular Aqua Extreme, I think the tanks come off, but the actual suit that he's wearing, his underwater suit, is actually part of his body, so that cannot be removed. You could, of course, put clothing over the top of that if you particularly wanted to, but it would kind of like ruin the effect, I think. It's a shame, really, because the original Action Men with their uniforms was just a great novelty idea, and you could change them and put them into whatever you wanted to. Although there was different things for these particular range of Action Men, they weren't as fulfilled with added accessories as the original ones were. They did have a lot of vehicles that were released for these particular range of Action Men, but not like the original Palitoy ones. So he does have a pair of shorts on which are removable, but as you can see, his wetsuit at the bottom there, that's all part of his body and will not be removable. He's got his big dagger at the back there, as you can just see that, and there's his gripping hands, although they're not gripping like the original Action Man Oz. They are quite soft rubber, and they do hold their position quite well, but they don't grip. You haven't got movable fingers like you had in the original Action Man from Palitoy. But overall, still a great series of figures these were, and it was a nice little hole that Hasbro fulfilled at the time when obviously there haven't been Action Men since 1984 when Palitoy closed, so it was kind of like a generational thing, whereas the parents of the children in the 90s, when they were children, they'd all played with Action Men from the 70s and 80s, and consequently they wanted to be able to provide Action Men to their children. So it was a nice little market that Hasbro fulfilled, and it ran for, I think, 11 years, from 95 to 2006, before the line was finally axed, and that literally brought Action Man to a close until they produced the 40th anniversary, which was 2006. There was the 40th anniversary of Action Man was then produced by Hasbro in conjunction with Modeller's Loft. Okay, so that is the figure. Let's just get some sizes on him, because it should be the standard 12-inch figure, but I just want to measure him just to confirm that. And if I measure from the bottom of his foot right to the, remember his legs are bent here, so we're looking at about 28.5 centimeters, but if you straighten his legs out, you would be at 12 inches or 30 centimeters. If we just turn him around the other way, yeah, so we're about 11 inches there, but if you say if he was straightened out, he would be at 12 inches. Width wise, well, it's going to be a little bit difficult to measure, but we're looking at about 4 inches, which is about 10 centimeters in width. And depth wise, we're probably looking at about 7 or 8 centimeters if we measure from his back to the end of the his oxygen mask. So there we are. That is the figure of the Scuba Extreme Diver. Okay, how well did these figures do back in 1995? Well, yeah, I mean, Action Man was still wanted by a lot of people, and as I said earlier, the adults that were, or the parents of the children in the 90s had all played with Action Men in their youth, so which was in the 70s and 80s and 60s maybe also. So they, and obviously if they had boys, they wanted to be able to provide Action Man to their children. So Hasbro did relaunch Action Man, and it done very well for a while. Right up until I think Hasbro decided that the sales had dropped drastically, so the prices on the figures were dropping. They didn't stay at the prices that they were supposed to sell at, because the volumes had dropped. And then there was all this thing about the 40th anniversary Action Men being reproduced just like the original ones. So the line ultimately come to an end in 2006. But generally, overall, for those 10 years, obviously if a line's going for 10 years, it's obviously doing something right. And a lot of the figures were sold. It is just a shame that they didn't do the accessories just the way that the original Palatoy ones did. That would have been marvellous, and I think the range would have continued had they done things like that. But there we are. Different kettle of fish then. Okay, let's move forward now. Almost 30 years. This is 1998, so we're moving forward to 2025. So we're 27 years, well, 27 years on. Do these come up very often on the platforms? Well, you do still see these come up on the platforms. I'll be honest with you. They do appear, mainly loose figures that have been taken out and been played with or what have you, or been displayed. Occasionally, very occasionally, you do see them like this, still factory sealed on the card, but certainly not as often as you used to. I mean, straight after the plug was pulled with Hasbro on these particular figures, they were in abundance on the platforms. You could pick them up for 2 a penny back then, but of course they've now become a lot harder to find, and especially in this mint seal condition, much harder to find on platforms. When they do come up on the platforms, like this particular one, they're not really on there for very long, and they do sell quite quickly. However, as I always say, if you are going to buy on a platform, just be careful, because a lot of them use stock photographs, and what you look at may actually not be what you are buying. So do have a good look. Click the use icon if it's available, because that's most likely what you're going to see, or what you're going to be ordering if you do buy on a platform. So click that icon and read what the description says before you actually click the buy now button or the bid button. Or alternatively, you can come to us on Midas Touch Toys Games Collectibles. We do not use stock photographs on any of our products. We take photographs of the actual items. So what you see on our website is exactly the items that you will be receiving. And this particular Action Man item is now available to purchase on the MyStash website. Before we get into that, just a little history on these Action Men. We did find a whole case of Action Men in a shop buyout that we did. So there is, I think, 6 or 7 different Action Men from this particular range that we have available now. This is one of them. This particular one, as I say, you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website, or you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Action Men and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles come to that, as over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive that this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you are looking for, something old that you never been able to find, something quirky that you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, wonderful Action Man Scuba Extreme Diver with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.